Yes, y'all. It's Wednesday night, man. We are here. I was off last week. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope pod to step to. You know what I mean, Dame?
All right.
What's happening, good sir?
Hey, how you doing,
Let me shout
TJ?
out my sponsors real quick. Lehigh Vape. For all your vaping essential needs, go to 822 Nazareth Pike, Lehigh Vape. Tell them TJ sent you and they will take care of you. Have the best vaping equipment and juice in the valley. Now to my guest. This is the man that I've known for 11 plus years. Man of integrity, man of faith. My brother Damon, how are you, sir? Peace and blessings. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me, TJ. Good to be here.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. So we're going to get right into it. We have comments coming in. Alan, who is my older brother, said hello, family. Alan, my brother, peace and
What's up,
blessings,
man?
guy. I will be
Blessings.
messaging you when the show is over. Um, let's get right into it.
All right.
Active addiction, recovery, living clean. Let's start at the beginning.
Let's do it. I'm from Philadelphia, born and raised. That's where I'm from. And, raised by my mom, just me and my mom growing up in Philadelphia. And had a pretty much normal childhood, running through the streets and doing this, that, or the other. And, early on, probably at about 11 years old, I was introduced to marijuana. Colombian gold, Acapulco Bay, the whole nine, right? And we used to go to the neighborhood up in Northeast, where because the white folks had the good stuff, right? They always had the good weed, so we used to go up there. They had the good stuff, and that's where it started, really. I mean, but then it was just roller skating, hanging out, playing music, listening to music, singing on the corner, this, that, or the other. That's where it started, and so it started with blacklight posters on my wall, fishnet, and I'm dating myself, but fishnets all over the ceiling and the wall. I remember my mom started to see the transformation, like what's happening to my boy. You know what I mean? He got black lights. He's dressing a certain way. He's hanging with a certain crowd, and so what that ended up happening is being in the wrong place, wrong time. Got into some trouble. Ended up in a military academy for 4 years in Virginia. And they shipped me. It was kind of a cultural change, from West Philly to Front Royal, Virginia. So I spent 4 years in Virginia. Would come home on holidays and some weekends. So from 1974 to 78, I was in Virginia at the military academy. Came out of there, was playing ball, played ball down there, played basketball, and ended up going to Shippensburg. Spent 4 years at Ship. Started a chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity back in 1980. That's still going strong. We just celebrated 41 years in the bond. And even throughout my years in college, drinking, smoking weed, and doing this, that, or the other. And came out, ended up getting a job and getting married, moving to Boston, Massachusetts, in medical sales. And in medical sales and going to parties and hanging out, was introduced to cocaine, and it started off, just doing a little this, a little that. It was kind of like on the table, it was all just a part of the atmosphere, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how it started. I was in medical sales and doing this, that, or the other. Then I transitioned back to Philadelphia from Boston selling hard equipment. And that was like in the 80s, and that's when things started to take off. I ended up getting caught up in the grips, and the next thing I remember so well being in having a procedure of angioplasty catheters. They were using my balloon for a procedure in a major teaching hospital in Philadelphia. And, I've been in the crack house all night, kept telling myself I was going to leave, I was going to leave, I was going to leave. Then I'm like, oh, wow, I got to go. Young boys had my car. I had some change, and I had some change that was in my pocket, was getting on the bus, and change was falling all over the place. The guy said, just get on the bus. Ended up getting down to the procedure, putting on one of those you had to wear those big jackets, those coats for the radiation. Couldn't hardly
Right.
stand up. Had on the clothes I had on for a week, standing in there. And they were asking me in the heart, standing at the table, right, crossing the artery of the heart. And he asked me, what PSI is your balloon? I mean, how far can I inflate this balloon in the artery of this heart so the blood can flow through, right? Because
Right.
you have an angioplasty procedure as opposed to having your open heart surgery. and I was stuck. I got stuck right in the interventional cardiology lab. One of the assistants who had known me from me going and doing presentations said, "Oh, I think it's 10 psi." Da da da. Afterwards, she pulled me in the room and said, "You need to go get yourself some help." That was in 1986, somewhere around there. And so around that time, my mom got cancer. She had it years ago. It came back, just me and my mom, and her cancer came back strong. And I was actively using. I was in the grips. And in the grips to the degree that when she took her last breath and word got to me and said, "Your mom's dead, it's time to go." I couldn't get up from the crate, TJ. You know why? Because it was my turn next. And they're like, "Hold on." Reality sets in. "Your mom's dead. You got to go." I'm like, "Yeah, I know I got to go, but one more. That's all I need is one more." So at the funeral, her brother stood guard with his Korean War outfit uniform because of the element and who I was and how I was living, for fear that that element would come in and disrupt the funeral of his little sister. Shortly thereafter, my wife at that time was pregnant with our little girl. 3 months later, Brittany was born, and all indications were that if this don't stop you, I don't know what will.
Right.
I mean, come on. You lost your mom, you're in the grips. Now you got a little girl. Now you got a daughter. You got a son and a daughter. You got a wife that's committed to you. All right, now it's time. And so I was introduced to fellowships and introduced to this, that, or the other. And I would go and I sit in the back of the room. I would do this, that, I still was holding on, to I got this. So I didn't surrender. And so we do what we always did. We get what we always got. So I ended up back in the grips. And this time I ended up homeless in the streets of Philadelphia, from shelter to shelter, through the ridge, through this, that, or the other, living animalistic, and really was lost. And the last time that I used, and it's an important part of my story, it's when you share your story, one thing about it is it don't change, right? It's the same story. And so the last time I used, I was in a spot down the bottom of Philadelphia. That was the neighborhood I ended up in. And I was using with this guy, and he kept looking at me. And we were like in this room, sitting on crates with candles, and he kept looking across at me. And when I looked at his face, in his face, I saw craters, and it looked like crack cocaine was embedded in his skull. And I just looked away. He looked at me, and he said, "That's what's going to happen." And I'm said, and I looked around. He's like, "I'm talking to you, dude." And I just kind of ignored it. The next morning, I was, the wee hours, right? You end up in the wee hours of the morning, like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I was wandering, looking to see what I could find. And I went to a little corner store. And when I got at the bottom of the steps, the guy at the top of the steps was the same dude. He was clean shaven. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, he was Vice. He was there. He was undercover. Now, da, da, da. And he was at the top of the steps. And I looked up at him and I said, he looked down at me and said, "Are you ready?" He asked me, "Was I ready, TJ?" And I said, everything in me wanted to say, "Yes, come and get me, like, this to help." And I said, "You got a couple dollars?"
Damn.
And he took off a turquoise cross off his neck. He put it around my neck. I looked down and I looked up, and he was gone. Now, that moment, as vivid as that moment is today, as it was then, I knew it. It was a moment, and I kept on my grind.
Right.
Within 24 hours, within 24 hours of that moment, I was in the car. First of all, with 24 hours of that moment, I was in the sub-basement of a crack house because I had nothing to bring to the table. And, when you ain't got nothing to bring to the table, you got to roll. It don't matter how you've been rolling. Spend whatever you've been doing. What you got now? How about this? No, it don't matter about that. What you rolling with now? And I was woke up by two drug gangs that I was getting money from, saying I had money in the account that I didn't, getting slips from this bank teller. And they put a gun in my head and said, "Let's go to the bank." So we get in this car. We go traveling to Center City, Philadelphia. I mean, to City Line, Philadelphia. We get there. I go in the bank. I go to the same teller I went to a couple of days before. One guy comes in the bank, the other stay in the car, and I walk up to and I'm like, she sees my condition, right? For the whole week I've been walking in there.
Right.
I walked in the crack house with a 3-piece suit. A week later, I had a 3-piece suit on, but it didn't fit the same, right? It was falling off me. It's falling off
Right.
me. I was 34. I had white hair. I got white hair now because I'm 61. All right. And so I walked in, and I got 5 kids. That probably has something to do with it. For all the fathers in the house, from age 30,
sure.
35 to 11. So the bank manager comes out and walks around, takes me to a little cubicle and says, "What's going on here?" And so where we are, the drug dealer is like sitting in his back to the window. He got guns and everything. And we start writing notes back and forth. So while we write notes back and forth, a call went in that it was a bank robbery. So a silent one. So I'm sitting there and I look over the shoulder and I see the police converging on the bank, right? They're coming from all angles because this was a bank that was the satellite bank on the side of an Acme food market. So it was like one of those little banks. And so as they're coming up they surround the car outside, I see them. And I remember this and why it's so important because I'm talking about being in the grips. I'm talking about seeing it and still trying to get one. So I looked, I said, wow, here they come. And I'm looking at the bank managers like, just write this. Like, there's still a chance here. Like, if you give me this, I get them that. I could get out. I could get back down the way. And we can all be good.
Right.
Boom. The door, they come through the back door. Boom, 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 boom. I hear them running. I'm still sitting there like, what's up? Can we do this? Throw me down to the ground. I look up and the show cops is on their shoulder. They got the camera. They got the big spotlight. It's just cops. They thought they was on a bank robbery. They was on an addict trying to get one more. Even at that moment, I'm like, wow, man, that's your cops. This is crazy. They put me in the back of the car. They're taking us to the police station. And when I'm in the car, and I will tell you, the way I felt in that car, that feeling is as vivid today as it was then. And I will never forget it because everything in my soul and my being said, if y'all just let me out. It was a whole big misunderstanding here.
So it's always a misunderstanding.
It's always a misunderstanding. We can work this out. So, and I said, excuse me, can y'all let me, imagine that, right? Excuse me, could y'all let me off like down near Market Street and I could get my way back from there? That was just, I don't know what that was. I was just going there with some guys to the bank. They didn't even, we arrive at the police station. The bank manager comes, they got everything laid out, and I'm sitting there, and a policewoman walks by. She pauses, she looks at me, and a tear comes down her eye because of my condition. The bank manager decided, what are we going to do here? Press what kind of charges? He needs help. They said, so they put me in a room, handcuffed me to a radiator, and said, you got a phone call to make. I called my frat brother, right? I called my Sands. I called my boy that through the thick and thin, pledged together, did this, that, or the other, right?
Right.
Calling him. He got me. Ring. Hey, his girlfriend answered, who was his wife, and Mike unfortunately passed last year. He was able to be at my anniversary several years ago. So he's in the background, and she's like, oh, he's up at the police station up in Bryn Mawr, da da da. He said, hang up the phone. And he was like, hold on, no, this is Chose. That's what my nickname was in college. This is Chose. Come on. No, we got to go get him. And he said, we ain't going to get him. He's on his own. Hang up. Click. Wow. I had an old insurance card. called Misericordia Hospital, which is now Mercy. They connected me to a guy in Jersey who came and picked me up from a fellowship, picked me up. And when he rolled up in his Benz, because when they let me out, sitting out, they were saying, the cops were saying, those guys are trying to get at you. We can't really hold them. You know what I mean? For real, for real. So I don't know what you're going to do. So I was just numb, just sitting on there. He rolled up in a Benz. He said, get in. I got in. He said, strap up. We got a long ride. It took me 3 hours of treatment. And I'll never forget what he said when I asked him this question. I said, why would you leave your home and come out at this time of night? He said, because somebody did it for me, bro.
Yeah.
Somebody did it for me. And I have tried to live my life with those words that he said to me that night. And so when I arrived, where I arrived, a big white guy with big overalls put his arm on my shoulder, and he looked at the Serenity Prayer, and he said, read it. And I read it. I had read it before, but reading it now I felt a little different. And so it hits me different. It hit me different. And I'm like, wow, you know, and then, you know, I start putting one foot in front of the other, you know, and through detox, coming out of detox. And then shortly thereafter, like about 8-9 days under my belt, I was smelling myself. That's what my mom Ethel used to say. 2 bit airs, you're smelling yourself right now. That's what she would say. And I was, right? And I'm like, well, I make some moves. I'm going to do this. I got to get back down the way. There's some stuff I got to do. You know what I mean? Angie's waiting for me, the kids, da da da. And my counselor was like, you do know that divorce papers are going to be served. I'm like, yeah, but. She took me to a place up in Tamaqua off the Appalachian Trail, all these guys with shirts off, cutting wood, this, that, or the other, up in the Blue Mountains. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I came back and she said, how willing are you?
Right.
And I got on my knees, right? And I prayed. And from that moment on, when I woke up, I had the willingness. When you said jump, I said, how high? It didn't matter.
Right.
It didn't matter. Right. And I continued the journey. And that's how I ended up in Little Apple area in 1994. That's how I got here.
And that's where I met you.
Yep. I had a little bag, you know, clothes, and I arrived, and all I knew was just to go. You know what I mean? Just to attend these meetings they're talking about and just keep going. Just keep my foot on the gas, just kept going. You know, I was in Allentown and Bethlehem in 1988 selling hard equipment. And I remember rolling back through Philly, like I had a little town up in Allentown, nice little spot, I guess. Look at them rolling down 7th Street, right? Oh, look at these little shops. Let me get back down to the big city. Had no idea how transforming arriving in a place where there was so much opportunity for recovery and so many addicts that was seeking the same thing I was. So one on my left, one on my right. I just put my head down and kept it moving, you know, kept it moving, ended up going back to school, you know, reinventing, start. I remember the first job I got at a homeless shelter. And I remember writing my, you know, why I wanted to work in a homeless shelter. And that letter that I wrote is what got me the job. I never wrote a job, told them the exact truth. This is who I am, the exact truth. You know what I mean? Not, you know, not like painting a picture. No, this is where I come from. And so I arrived here, and I have continued to, there's been ups and downs of life that has presented itself. But throughout it all, you know, helping someone else get to the other side, and the empathy and the compassion for human beings has been instrumental in my development and my relationship with the higher power, who I choose to call God, that continues to guide me and keep me. Because I understand for this addict, it's a spiritual condition that absolutely demands a spiritual solution. And the only way that I do that is I have to do the inside work. You know, I've always fix up the outside, you know, cars, prestige, money, property, and all of that. That ain't never kept me clean.
No,
me neither. That ain't never did it, because I had all that. You know what I mean? And I put it right in the cooker, right? It all goes in the cooker.
It all goes
you know
there.
I mean?
Listen, yeah. That's where it goes. Like,
that's where it goes.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so I've been, you know, fortunate to have been able to be in an area where I have met the diversity, with the Latino community up here. I've embraced it. I have 3 children that are half Puerto Rican, right? So
Right.
I certainly have embraced it, right? In more ways than one. But being able to involve myself in community-based organizations to help those when there's language barriers, and being able to assist and be a part of the solution, have an opportunity to access quality care no matter what you got. You got insurance, you don't got insurance, you're homeless, you're not homeless, you're gay, you're this, that, or the other. None of that matters.
Right.
I've learned how to embrace everyone has the opportunity. It doesn't matter
And
what you look like.
that's the gift that's so freely given to us, right? Like,
Yeah.
now, you've heard my story a million times. I've heard your story a million times, and you had reached out to me when I was working in the addiction community and said, here, like, if you need anything, Footprints of Recovery. Can we talk about what Footprints of Recovery is?
Sure. Footprints of Recovery is an organization that I represent, and the headquarters is in Chicago, Illinois, but they have a full continuum of care. When I say that, I mean detox, residential, partial hospitalization, um, recovery houses, supportive housing with a partial hospitalization level of care. And we have a continuum that's across the United States. We have facilities in Las Vegas, Arizona, California, PHP in New Jersey, right over the bridge,
Right.
and one thing that I love about them is, not only are they clinically sound, but they care about making a difference, period. And how I operate and how I've done it is I'm the Professional Liaison Association co-chair. And what that is, that's an organization of marketers and business development people that help people access care. It's about 40 folks in it across the Northeastern region. And that's because we all need to work together. You know what I mean? We can't operate in silos. And that's one thing that I've worked on. Let's put down the silos and let's talk. Let's talk what's best for the family. Should they travel? Should they not? Do they need a change of location? Do they need it? One thing that's important, which is how we get down at Footprints. When the call comes, we're on it.
Right.
Whether they come to us or they go someplace else, because the time is of the essence. You can't be dilly-dallying around.
No.
Can
I
you? No, we're in the
I can't
car.
express that enough, especially when the window of opportunity for an addict that is willing enough to surrender.
Yes. Yes, you got to be ready. And I'm available 24/7. I have no problem getting my number out, putting it on the podcast, and giving the number out if that's appropriate or not. Folks can
Sure.
call 24/7. Families, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's an adolescent, maybe it's a mom, maybe it's a dad. One thing that I'm looking to do, I had the opportunity to participate in Pastor Phil Davis's Courageous Conversations a couple of weeks ago. I guess it's going to be airing next week. And one of the things that we talked about was Minister Andrea and Pastor Miriam was just really being able to connect through giving everybody the opportunity, but really connect through the churches. That's a venue where there's a lot of different things that go on, right? And sometimes it's under the carpet, like people don't talk about it. And so I'm really looking to engage and spend more time with the faith-based community and that community, because what I do and what we talk about in the work that I do is boots on the ground. That's what we do.
As it should be.
Boots on the ground. I am passionate about this. It's my life. Again, what was given to me, from that conversation, and when I asked him why you do it, because somebody did it for me.
Yeah.
Period. And I'm blessed to be able to work in an industry, to help me provide for my family, but at the same time, like keep my foot on the gas, not only for myself, but for helping others, really being able to do that. And Footprints has afforded me the opportunity to be able to reach people, get them where they need to get to safety, whatever that is, whether that's, let's get an assessment, let's get the insurance, uninsured, insured, it don't matter. At the end of the day, we will and I will get you to where you need to get to. I don't let
Right.
go.
Yeah. No. And you can't. And we need people like that in the industry. And I hate to use the word the industry because it sounds so,
Mhm.
you know, but we need people like that that are willing to go to bat and show up, because most of the time, in my experience, it's just people collecting paychecks. And
Absolutely.
you know, I need, for me, when I was at my lowest point, I need this to be identifiable. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? I need to understand you're just like me, and this is how this is gonna work, you know?
Yep.
And a lot of times it's not like that. And I'm glad that you are in the position you're in, because I know you, and I know it's identifiable, and I know that you will go to bat, and I know you be there and do everything you can.
Absolutely. 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 I mean, we're in the midst of a world, particularly with, and one of the challenges, and what I just wanted to just talk about briefly was when the pandemic and COVID hit, kind of the
Right.
lifeline of people touching people, which is the premise of recovery, was lost, right? And people
Right.
isolated. You know what I mean? And the Zoom and the platforms, they are what they are. But it's not like a good old hug. Ain't nothing like seeing somebody else, right? And but
Having a
we've
cup of
been
coffee.
having a cup of coffee, having a conversation, but we've been able to do the best we can on the platforms that are available to us through technology, and through that. But what has happened is folks have isolated and are coming out of this and they need help.
Right.
People are needing help. Mental health issues have persisted that are on the rise. Some of them are you didn't even know you had. Um, but now it's starting to come to the surface as a result of not being there's domestic violence has risen, for people being having to be around each other, that previously was not the case. And so there's
Right.
a lot of different things that have gone on in the world that we live in. And what I try to do is just be a part of the solution, continue to give back as much as I can, being able to cross, different places with bringing people together to the table. Let's talk about it. What can we do? And so when you get afforded me the opportunity, and we talked about this a while ago, when I come on the show and share my experience, and kind of what I'm up to now, particularly with what you have been given to the community for years, TJ, through sports, through music. Like I know, when I think of you, when I first think of you, I think of music.
Right.
You
Thank you.
know, that's what I think of. This is a music
Thank
band.
you.
A good friend of both of us is Chris Y. I mean, he just raves about you. I remember, I'm like, I got the TJ. This was a couple years ago. This is his latest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but music breaks down barriers, right? Music's
Absolutely.
able to reach people in such a way.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big music fan. I love music from all genres. It doesn't matter. I go from jazz, old school, hip hop, like you name it. You name it. My playlist is vast.
And that's, let's get into it. I need what's in your playlist right now? What's in your rotation?
My rotation right now, it's funny when I look at it because my Amazon, what Amazon does, Amazon Music, it captures what you listen to,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
It captures what you listen to. So what I listen to, um, I got some Eric B, Rakim, Pete L, Pete Rock and
CL
Smooth,
Smooth.
CL Smooth. I have that, and then I have old school Delphonics, Blue Magic. I got some Ronnie Laws, Hubert Laws. I mean, you talking about across the board. I have some stylistics. I have the jazz, the old R&B, and some of the new stuff like this. Sometime when I'm working out at the gym, like I need something upbeat that's going to kind of get me going,
For sure.
and one group that I liked back in the day from Philly. You remember Breakwater? Sound
No,
familiar? Look them up, TJ. Check them out.
I will.
Break,
As soon as I get to work tonight, I'm on it.
yeah, on it. Check out Breakwater. Breakwater was doing their thing. Frankie Beverly and Maze. Um, some of the artists today is the one I can't Dua Lupa. Am I saying that
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that sometimes that just comes up and it's like a catchy and it kind of gets me going. You know what I mean? Listen to some of that. But I at night I listen to classical. You know, I some classical music, some of the classics. And sometime when I'm going to sleep with my Alexa, I say, Alexa, play some classical smooth, some classical slumber, just to kind of
Right.
ease me down. You know, and I grew up, I played the piano for years coming up in Philadelphia. I played the
Mm.
piano. I had to go and play piano lessons and play in a band in high school and was a percussionist. And so, you know, I've been around music all my life. So those are some of the musical groups. I remember when I pledged, when I was making boys, is what we call you pledging people, and you have to know stuff about you. What's my favorite group? What's my favorite group? And they used to say, Big Brother, the Delphonics. I'm like, all right, you got it.
For sure. For
You
sure.
know,
It's
who's on
funny
your
how
playlist? Who you listen to? Who you like?
um when I'm at the gym right now, major prayers I had made, like, and this is a month ago. DMX, when I was younger, DMX was like that for me to get riled up. It was DMX.
Wow,
So I
wow.
got a straight DMX playlist. Prayers
Mm.
to him as he's fighting for his life right now.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Um, and the my workout playlist is Fat Joe, Biggie, some Pac is in there.
Oh, I'm a Pac fan. Yeah.
Um, if I'm smooth, if I need to chill, like if I'm cleaning, I throw on my reggae playlist, which is Buju Banton, Alkaline,
Yes, yes.
Capleton. You know, there's it really. I'm such a moody person. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right, right, right.
I caught myself. There was a versus battle. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
I
It
am.
was It was Earth, Wind,
Earth,
and
Wind, and
Fire,
Fire
and
and the Isley Brothers.
yes. So I found myself the other night singing "Contagious."
Right.
You know, so
Oh
it just
man,
depends where I'm at with it. You know.
that's one of the best live concerts I ever seen. Other than the first live concert I saw, um, and I don't know what year it was, but it was when the Jackson Five went on their tour, right?
Mm,
Their first U.S. World Tour at the Spectrum, and I saw the
hmm
Jackson Five, and you know who opened for them? The Commodores.
That's some bucket list stuff right there.
It is,
Damn,
yeah, it is, yeah, it is.
the bucket list stuff.
Yeah,
My favorite concert that and this was locally. This was back when Croc Rock was having their shows.
yeah, yeah.
I was able to see Method Man and Redman.
I remember when they were there.
Whoo, man.
Woo! Did they do their thing?
Yes, yes. And I'm talking supreme performers. Supreme performers.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Probably one of the best concerts I saw was Earth, Wind, and Fire. When they were in their prime, when Maurice White was with them. You know, he got ill, but you know, one of the originals. You know, watching them, Earth, Wind, and Fire was probably one of the most phenomenal concerts I saw. As far as individual performers, was Luther.
Mm. Now, to segue a little bit, now today, what do you do? What do you do for fun today? What does fun look like for you today? Without all the hustle and bustle and the pandemic and what do you do to keep that level of serenity even?
One of the things I do is I read. I'm an avid reader. Right? I
Okay.
read biographies. I read about things about people's lives, and I guess the last one that I read was The Life of Pistol Pete. I'm a big basketball fan, right? So
Yeah.
Pistol Pete Maverich and kind of the player he was. People hear about Pistol, but he was special. He was a special
Yeah.
player,
I
and he
got
has
a
a
funny
very.
story about Pistol, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. What's this? You got a story about Pistol?
There was a high school coach for Phillipsburg High, Tom Fisher, was taught he had gave us this story. Me and my mom, one of my best friends, Matt Skirbo, were just talking about it. How he was gonna lock Pistol down, and I guess they played against each other in college. And Pistol went on to torch him for like 50.
Right, right.
Yeah.
He was
So
averaging 50. He was averaging
yeah,
50. Yeah, he
yeah,
was. Yeah, he was averaging 50. And I recently
cold,
read,
bro,
yes, he
cold.
was. Yes, yes.
Cold.
So I read, I'm an avid reader. I like to read biographies. One of the other things I do is spend time with my children. We just came from the park,
Right.
skateboarding, kicked the ball, soccer ball, and shot the ball a little bit, shot the basketball, and just spend some quality time with them. Another thing that I do is just to wind down. I work out in the mornings, at least three days a week. And I put on my headphones because the gym I had, the music be blasting. So I got to put on my headphones. Like, could y'all turn down the music? So I got to put my own music on. And that's the way that I keep myself physically fit, and spiritually sound.
I'm trying. I'm
You know,
trying.
I try to, I'm trying to watch, be mindful of what I eat. Although to the right of me, I got some penne and pork and some rice and beans to the right, right now. So
I'm
every
not
now
mad
and
at
then,
that. I'm not mad at that.
I do that, and I like to take walks. I like to travel. Obviously COVID has prevented that, and I'm a new grandfather. So one of the things
Oh,
that I am looking forward to is Zyra Love was born on October 2nd. I am fully back.
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm fully vaccinated. So what that means for me is I've seen her, but I haven't held her,
Okay.
and I'm looking forward to doing that and just spending, and I'm glad you asked the question because it's important to find that balance, right? That
Absolutely.
balance of being able to wind down, being able to, turn off the TV, listen to some music, do some things. I like to listen to like podcasts when I'm in the car, listen to
Hmm.
books being read. That's something that was suggested to me when you're traveling. And initially I was resistant. And once you do it, you're in.
It opens up a whole new world.
Opens up a whole new world. I've listened to podcasts and people talk about things, and I am just riveted. By the time I know
Hmm.
I'm at my destination and I'm at the destination and I'm so into the podcast and listening to what they're talking about, I'm still parked. I'm like, aren't you here? I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to hear the end
Finish
of what
this
they're
up.
talking about, trying to finish this up. I remember traveling and listening to Magic Johnson's wife, right?
Hmm.
She was on a podcast and hearing her side, her
Hmm.
vision and her lens from how things unfolded, with everything with, his condition and when it came out and all the different things. And one thing that I got out of, she stood by her man through the thick and the thin.
Need a good one.
Yeah.
Need a good one. That's why, when anybody ever asks me, that's why I give them all the credit to God and my wife, you
Yes, you
know.
do.
And now you've seen me at all the events, you've seen me at all the tournaments. We know the same players.
Mhm.
Who are your top three players to come out of the Valley?
My years of watching, and I remember watching, um, I will tell you, before we talk about the players come out of the Valley, um, the Sports Fest, right? The Sports Fest. From the moment they had the Sports Fest, and I never
Hmm.
forget it. Like the moment they had it, Toomey, who played for Parkland back then, I'm going back, was on the foul line, right? And he
Hmm.
was shooting like, I don't know, foul shots at the end, and I remember him winning that. And he was a little thin kid back then, right? Toomey was. Um, but one of the most phenomenal performances that I've seen in the Valley period was the guy from went to BYU. What's his name? Jimmer Fredette. Jimmer Fredette.
Cold.
What?
Cold.
He dropped 45 and didn't even what?
Wasn't even trying.
What are they trying? I'm like, whoa, whoa. So that's probably as far as performances. I know he's not from the Valley, but I just had to talk about it because he
I've,
did his thing. You
I,
know,
one of the best performances I've seen was a kid he played for the Houston Rockets. He came out of Roman Catholic, Eddie Griffin.
oh yeah,
He was up here for the Holiday Classic, and I forget how tall he was, 6'8", 6'9", and there was nothing he couldn't do with the ball.
mm,
Man, he made that game look so easy.
mm, 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 mm.
Hmm.
So the top three off the top is Terrence Roderick. I've known his dad forever. You know what I mean?
Shout
I've
out
known his
to T.
dad. Shout out to T. I've known T. And as far as just talent and the things that I've seen him do on the court and his court vision, the things he does is Terrence Roderick. Other than that, as far as playground and who I've watched just quiet the crowd and hush everybody, is Sweetwater. Period.
Shout outs to Sweet.
Bottom line, I used to be on the sidelines just watching him just take over a game.
Cold.
Just take over.
His mid-range game is bar none.
Bar none. He elevate like he's extended. He's a player.
Yeah.
You know, other than that, I guess the next, would be who really and he played with him in high school. Who am I thinking about? Who's the coach of Allen right now?
Mr. Got the ball on a string. Neasy. Darren Braswell.
I'm putting him in the mix. Now, I know they played on high school. He was kind of the, second banana, so to speak. But I watched him.
I watched him take over games.
I watched him take over games. Had one of the highest IQs I've seen.
We were at the Heritage Tournament a couple years back, and I'm talking about silence the crowd. Like to where you could hear a nickel drop out there.
Yes.
Yeah, he was different. He's different.
Yes.
Shout outs to him for a great first season coaching.
Great first season. I watched that on TV. I watched him and them boys. And Nick Ellis is like star guard.
Yeah.
I coached his little brother, and we won the Lehigh Valley Championship for the fifth grade last year, before the COVID hit.
Right.
And I had his little brother, so he's coming up. I will tell you, the fifth grade squad that I had, we got something to look forward to.
I'll tell you what, that's the fun piece for me is watching the future.
Yes.
Watching the future.
Yes.
I have a godson, Matt Skirbo's son. He's a junior. Shout out to him. He's something special.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be reading about him.
You can see it. I just want to get a shout out to a kid that he just happened to show up at a practice. We're at Brockle and we're practicing, and he came with his friend, and we needed another player. A little skinny kid, wiry, just kind of like, okay, I'll play. Ended up being my point guard for years, right? Ended up growing up. His name is Willie Torres. He played for Executive Charter. You know who he is. And when he played for me, he was a point guard. He was just real slick with the ball. Ended up being like 6'1", but would go in the paint. Bam! And so and coming from the South Side and under his conditions and being able to Forks Township, let's go and get my station wagon, my Subaru, and let's just go from place to place to place. And watching these young men, right, not just be, continue to be a part of the community and really see where they have come from. It's really gratifying.
Most definitely. Basketball and music have saved some lives out here.
Sure has.
It saved some lives. Now, before I let you go, I'd like to ask all my guests, is there anything you want to ask me before we get out of here?
What gets you going? What keeps you with because you have so much different things that you have done. What keeps your fire burning? What continues even in the midst of COVID with this over the last year? And I watch you just give unconditional love to anybody at any given moment. What has enabled you to be able to have that fire to still burn the way it does for you?
I keep, when I first came around, right, I was in a terrible way, and I didn't have anything, and I wanted to die. And an old timer grabbed me and said to me, "Hey, sit down and don't leave until the miracle happens." I had no idea what that meant, right? But I knew I smelled, I ain't shower, I didn't know the last time I brushed my teeth, but I knew he was willing enough to grab me and care for me enough just to sit there with him. So now I just want to give back what was so freely given to me. And it's watching my son develop every day. It's it's watching my wife's work ethic. You know, it's to the little kid that's on the corner with the headphones on that reminds me of me, that he's drowning out the world with some of his favorite songs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I pull inspiration from many places. You know, it's the addict that has 2 days clean and he's got that light in his eye that just came back
Yes.
and he wants to live. You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
for me it comes from all different places. But I mean, God wakes me up every morning.
Yes, he does.
So everything else, anything after that is a bonus.
Absolutely.
If I'm fortunate enough to do music, if I'm fortunate enough to help somebody and talk them off the ledge, if I'm just able to show up and suit up and go provide for my family or just be there
Mm-hmm.
for my family, I'm good.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I'd like to dedicate our moment and our time together to a young man who passed away in my recovery house on Saturday morning to a heart attack. He was 48 years old, but he was
Mm.
clean. Right? He was clean. He was 90 days in. He had been on this journey for many years, and but it was time for him to go home. But he died clean. His name is Antoine Logan, and he will always be with me. My clean date was April 5th. You know, it was just a couple days ago on Monday, but I'll never forget him. And this is on the heels of his passing. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to him.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Prayers and condolences to his family.
Thank you, brother.
You just celebrated 28 years?
27.
27 years?
27.
What a blessing. What a miracle.
What a
How
miracle. Like,
God
who would
works.
have thought? Who would have thought? Who
Yeah.
would have thought? I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
I try not to count time, man. I'm rapidly approaching the 1-2. So
Hmm. Hey, you know what? That birthday, my birthday and my clean date, those are dates that it's not changing. It's as
yeah,
equally important of April 5th, 1994, as my birthday was. Is
yeah, absolutely.
right. And
Same for me.
that clean date won't change as long as we continue to do what we're doing, right, TJ?
Most definitely. Most
That's it.
definitely.
That's it.
Dame, it has been such a pleasure and honor and privilege to have you on the show.
Thank you, brother. I
And I just
appreciate
want to
the
thank you
opportunity.
again.
You're welcome. Thank you, bro.
And for all those that just tuned in, if you haven't checked out my sponsor yet, if you do vape, go to Lehigh Vape. It's at 822 Nazareth Pike. For all your vaping essential needs, tell them TJ sent you. They'll take care of you. If you know an addict that's sick and suffering and needs help, reach out to me. When I post the YouTube link, I will tag Dame in it and his phone number, if
Please
that's
do.
okay with you.
Please put my phone number on. Yes.
And we'll try to facilitate the help you need.
Thank you.
Dame, we are out of here, my brother.
All
Have a
right, brother.
blessed evening.
Peace.